For a few years in the 1970s, the Mr. Asia syndicate made millions.
Heroin creates its own market. It acts like a form of plague.
Until jealousy, betrayal and murder brought it all crashing down.
Then he just pulled out a gun, shot her in the back of the head, and then said to Wayne, "You're going to help me bury her."
This is Mr. Asia, a forgotten history. Listen to episodes from February 19th on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts.
You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from Newstalk ZB.
Certainly came like a bolt from the blue earlier this week that New Zealand Rugby was taking Ineos to court over unpaid sponsorship. Ineos ditching the deal with New Zealand Rugby a good 3 years early, citing market conditions, reports suggesting that Ineos came with perhaps a settlement offer of some kind to New Zealand Rugby that was rejected, and now into court we go, or at least the court process has started from New Zealand Rugby. Plenty to get stuck into on that matter with Mark Robinson, along with other rugby topics, and so grateful to have New Zealand Rugby Chief Executive Mark Robinson with us on the program this afternoon. Mark, thanks for your time.
Elliott, hi, nice to be with you.
Oh, plenty to get stuck into, but two cracking games to start Super Rugby last night. The competition has got off on a great note.
Yeah, we're absolutely delighted. You're right. I didn't get a chance. I'm over in Sydney at the moment, about to head back home to that game at Eden Park tonight. But clearly, the game in Christchurch sounded amazing from the highlights I've seen. It was fantastic, and then absolute thriller in Sydney here, and the Highlanders couldn't quite hang on. But both had reasonable crowds, both really, really strong quality of rugby, and I think it's reflective of the whole pre-season, to be honest, Elliott. We're really delighted as it relates to New Zealand, especially the way that the clubs got out into the regions and did a great job with their pre-season programs into some of the smaller centres, and certainly built on that digital presence we've been working on for a couple of years now. I think you're seeing far greater reach and penetration right across the rugby community and fans in general with Super Rugby Pacific.
Let's hope that continues tonight and into the season. Look, big news this week, Mark Robinson, that New Zealand Rugby launching legal action against Ineos, one of your major sponsors, or were one of your major sponsors. When did you get a feeling this was heading south?
Oh, there were obviously some conversations through the back half of last year. So we've been working at this a little while, and obviously disappointed that it's gotten to this stage where Ineos have breached and are wanting to walk away. But, by the same token, we have to work quickly to protect our commercial interests and the wider game. So, we're incredibly confident that we have absolutely delivered on our agreement, and we're just going to have to, work through it over the next little while.
Do you buy the excuse that it's market conditions?
Oh, that's for them to speak to. Elliott, we've been overwhelmed with incredible support from our other partners around the world and domestically, who continue to be really pleased with the value we offer in these partnerships. And I'm off to the UK on Thursday night, and have got a range of meetings with our existing partners and prospects as well, interested in getting behind New Zealand Rugby and the teams in black. So it's what we're focused on is obviously getting a resolution around this matter, and then focused on the future around looking after our existing partners and looking to grow the sort of sponsorship family that we have.
They say they tried to settle. What were their terms, and why did you turn that down?
Well, I'm sure you know that I can't answer that, Elliott, but look, as I said, we've been working on this for a little while. It got to a stage where clearly we weren't able to do that. We thought the best next step was the path we've gone down. We'll keep in contact about whether there's any other possibilities through mediation, but look, I'm not going to comment any more than that.
Do you regret the deal with Ineos?
No, look, you go into these things very much eyes wide open. There's been some fantastic work done, as I say, in the partnership we've delivered on the things we set out to, especially around the performance side of the agreement. Engagement with our teams and our athletes has been really positive. So there's been some really good things achieved on it. But unfortunately, it's got to this stage.
Have you heard from them since? The legal action was filed?
Oh, look, again, I'm not going to get into the details of where the communication's at the moment. But we'll keep working through it.
How do you fill a hole that has now been left in your books, though, for this year and years beyond, that you are counting on multi-millions coming in from this Ineos deal for at least the next 3 years?
Oh, like I say, we're really pleased with the level of engagement and support we have from existing partners and the conversations we've got going on about prospects. So overall, I've said many times through the back half of last year that we're in a relatively strong position as it relates to the financial strength of our game, and especially in the areas of sponsorship. This breach is just something we've got to work through, and we'll continue to focus on growing value and growing more partnerships with others going forward.
How long, you obviously mentioned you're going to the UK this week, how long do partnerships like this take from initial meetings to fruitions, contracts signed, money starting coming through into bank accounts, etc.? Because this isn't going to be a quick process, or isn't, I'm sure, a quick process to get sponsors on board.
Well, look, we're always in the market having conversations about possibilities with partners. So a lot of those conversations are live constantly. But look, ordinarily it can vary from sort of 3 or 4 months to more to 6 to 9 months, just depending on what sort of partnership it is, jurisdiction, and a whole wide range of things that go into these agreements.
You mentioned you've had communication from companies and your other sponsors since then, but do you believe there's any reputational damage, I suppose, as a result of Ineos pulling out to the wider New Zealand Rugby brand?
Oh, no, I don't. I mean, I think we've been really clear on our principles and values of integrity here. We've worked incredibly hard. We talk a lot about the rugby way within our organisation as values that guide the organisation, and we believe we've stayed true to those. We believe the brand at an international level are incredibly strong. You look at the following the teams, within either and other parts of the world is incredibly strong. And as I say, the anecdotal feedback we've had has been very, very positive and understanding. So no, look, I think that this is just a case where we have to protect our interests. We're doing that. We'll do that in a respectful way that's constructive and keep working through it.
Mark Robinson, New Zealand Rugby Chief Executive, our guest on Weekend Sports this afternoon on Newstalk ZB. Mark, the All Black Sevens, Black Ferns Sevens teams going to wear their same usual uniforms with the Ineos logos on their training jerseys and shorts and everything like that at the Vancouver event next weekend. Haven't changed those as yet. Bit of free advertising for Ineos, isn't it? Hardly ideal. They haven't paid for it.
Oh, look, there's always going to be just a few things in these situations that you just have to keep working through. So look, we can't forecast everything or predict everything with the nature of these changes. So we'll work through that.
In a wider sense, how is the sports sponsorship market? Because we hear about tightening belts and various things, and cost of living flowing down to consumers. You're at the forefront of trying to get more money in the door. Is it a healthy sporting market that you're trying to get sponsorship in at the moment?
Well, I think across the country there'd be different views on that. Clearly, New Zealand's in a space where things are challenging, but overall, when we probably look to the international market, as I said before, we do have really strong interest at the levels of partnership that we're looking for here, and certainly got really highly engaged domestic partners still, but it is probably slightly more challenging at home. But overall, as I say, the level of interest and engagement and ability to sort of, get meetings and have the opportunity to get in the door with key people who lead the work in these organisations around the world for potential partnerships is really positive.
Mark, it seems to be a topic that continually raises its head, so let's get stuck into it. Eligibility once again. News Richie Mo'unga won't be coming back home perhaps as earlier as many had tipped or expected, and conversations around whether he should be eligible, whether anyone overseas should be eligible. Where are we at with this? Is this a conversation that is going to keep on keeping on and be basically a thorn in New Zealand Rugby's side? Where are we at?
No, look, we're really clear. The current policy we have is one that we think has served the game incredibly well for a long period of time now. And, there's no appetite to look at changing that anytime soon. I think Razor would probably be the first to admit that he might have been able to be a little bit clearer in the way he spoke about it last year. And I think he's also in a space where, being 1 year into the role, now he understands all the tools and flexibility we do have around that policy with the way the sabbaticals work and other sort of terms that we have within that policy. So look, we are very aligned. Razor himself, the whole organisation is very, very clear that the policy is in place for very good reasons. It's probably not appropriate for me to talk any further on Razor's behalf. I know he'll be doing media coming up later in the year, and that'll be for him to speak to. But as it stands at the moment, we're really clear on where we stand, and we're really supportive of the policy going forward.
And a new board's not going to change that, you don't think?
No, there's been no conversations on this matter with the board. The board at any given time obviously has the right to review any of our policies. It's a New Zealand Rugby policy that the board ultimately have the right to decide on. But at this stage, there's been no signal that that's something they want to look at.
Obviously, a big time in rugby at the moment. The Six Nations is underway, of course. Super Rugby as well. The World Game, always a big topic around that. But with a year out from the Nations Cup, do you feel that a lot of the rugby nations are on the same page as you move towards this sort of new era, which is beginning next year?
I think in terms of the vision for what we want the calendar to look like, absolutely. I think it's incredible the next 5 year schedule from 26 through to 30 that we've been able to develop, especially for New Zealand. If you look at Nations Cup starting, as you say, we've got 2 Lions series coming here, we've got the All Blacks South Africa series getting underway. We've got 2 Rugby World Cups in this part of the world with friendlier time zones. We've got a global club cup competition and a lot of other competitions around the club game being talked about in terms of possibilities. For in the future. So, we feel great around the way the collaboration's working as it relates to building out calendars and competitions. I think we've been really clear that we would like there to be more speed in terms of evolution in the way the laws work in the game and the way the product works. We will keep advocating really, really strongly about the need for more tempo, less intervention in the game. And that's what some of these meetings in the Northern Hemisphere are next week about. So we're looking forward to continuing those discussions. But as it relates to the general direction of the game, creating value and working together for the calendars, it's in a really positive space.
Mark Robinson with us on Newstalk ZB this afternoon. Mark, obviously a broadcast deal is overarching and still being negotiated. Where are you at in your negotiations from 2026?
Again, obviously can't talk too much more about that. Really, it's similar to the previous questions you've asked me on the Ineos topic. It's not appropriate. But as I say, we're really pleased with the product that we are bringing to market. We think this next 5 year content schedule is the best that we've probably ever brought to market in terms of the range of product and the way that it will connect with fans. And when you look at that combined with the trajectory of how the sport's being played and the positive movements towards a more open, expansive sport, that we'd love to think there'll be massive fan interest and obviously interest in acquiring the rights.
Final question, Mark Robinson, so grateful for your time. Look, Joe Schmidt announcing he won't stay on with the Wallabies. Have you had a phone call with him? Would you like him to be back in New Zealand Rugby's books in some way, some shape, somehow?
Obviously over here at the moment, and I think it's been a signal, and it's been worked through that Joe will stay on in some capacity with Rugby Australia from what I can gather. And look, it's not appropriate to get into those conversations either, to be honest. But we are really pleased overall when we look at the quality of coaching across the New Zealand super sides, the Australian super sides, and then what we're seeing at the international level between both teams, that we've got great coaches down this part of the world doing really good things, and probably some of the strongest level of coaching we've had at that professional level for some time. So we just hope that can keep producing the kind of product that we're seeing at the start of Super Rugby Pacific, and then that flows on really positively for the way that the All Blacks Wallabies perform on the international stage later in the year.
And that is Mark Robinson joining us on Newstalk ZB this afternoon, New Zealand Rugby Chief Executive. What are we, 15th of February, and plenty of rugby issues to get stuck into. The Ineos one, first and foremost, at the mind after the week that was taking legal action against Ineos on the basis of, well, no sponsorship incoming. They were due more payments, 25, 26, 27. Ineos have turned off the tap or the pump, might be more appropriate for Ineos, and said there's no more, and we are out of here.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to Newstalk ZB weekends from midday or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.